Okay, welcome, Woodford families. We designed this brief session just to help you prepare for the first day of school on Thursday and then for our preschoolers on next Monday. So, welcome again. For those of you joining with us today on this virtual session, we have a wonderful staff member, Miss Foles. She is managing the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to put those questions in the chat if you would like those answered. She just sent a chat if you want to click it and add any questions you might have. But thank you for joining us and taking the time out of your busy schedule. We will be hosting an in-person session tomorrow at 6 p.m. If you know other families that would like this information, we will be recording this as I shared and posting it to our Facebook and sending over Class Dojo. So all families will have access to this information as well. So first, I shared this with our staff this morning. Our staff had such a wonderful day of learning, of building relationships one another. We ate good food together. So we had a great time. And I just designed this to really, so families, you can learn a little bit about me. So there's a program called the 24 Character Strengths. And I've used that program, and I see some head nods, so some are familiar. I love that program because it talks about that every human has these character strengths. We have some that are higher than others. And how do we use those in situations that may be a challenging? Yes, I see some love for that program. It's called Via Character Strengths. It's actually a free survey you can take online. Really great to take with your kids just to learn. Like sometimes we think we have strengths and we might actually have other strengths, but no strength is more important than another one. So these are my 5 top strengths, and staff learned very quickly. And my voice is going a little bit, but you'll learn this quickly. Zest is definitely in my top 5. I have a lot of energy. I love being around kids. I love being around families and staff. I truly love this job, and I'm so excited to do it at Woodford. Pictured are 2 of my colleagues that I've worked with in the past. I actually had the opportunity to coach teachers, grades pre-K to 8 in various states across the country. And so those are 2 of my good, dear friend colleagues that I met in that journey as an educator and still remain close with. I also have a strength of social intelligence. I had the opportunity to teach in St. Louis public schools during the Ferguson, a lot of what was happening in St. Louis during that time I was there. And so a lot of my background in teaching is aligned to culturally responsive teaching. So that was quite frankly how I learned to teach, how I was supported to teach, and what good teaching is to me. So I just offer that as, again, another one of my strengths. Perseverance is another one of my strengths. Pictured is actually one of my first staffs that I had the privilege of working with. We look so cute in our matching shirts. It was a small but mighty staff in St. Louis Public Schools. It is currently closed, unfortunately. We did close a couple years after I left, but had the honor of working with such an incredible staff in North City, St. Louis, if you're familiar with that. I am so proud of the work that we did collectively. We were honored as one of the highest growth elementary schools in St. Louis Public Schools. So we were a small but mighty team. And so I love that picture because it really just speaks to my perseverance and that I bring that to the table. I also love to learn. Love of learning is in my top character strengths. Pictured there is little kindergarten Miss Dauner. I love asking questions. I love asking tough questions. I am definitely a fan of students asking questions. Unfortunately, I did have an experience with an educator. I had so many wonderful experiences, but I did have an experience with an educator in which my name was on the board and my questions were tracked. And I was limited in the amount of questions that I was allowed to ask. And that was, quite frankly, the class that I struggled in the most. So I value students' curiosity, their questions, them sometimes pushing back on on things that they don't agree with. And so we welcome that at Woodford, and I know the staff is in agreement with that, that our students are our leaders of our building, and we desire to have student leaders in our upper grades, our younger grades. So we have some exciting ideas that we're going to roll out to really boost up our student leadership at all grade levels. And then lastly, fairness is very important to me. One of my dear friends is pictured in that photo, and she is holds me accountable to this, and we have great conversations about what is fair, what is equitable, what is not. And so that matters to me in this work. And so I offer that again as one of my top strengths. So now we're going to just jump into some nuts and bolts of starting the school year. Again, the chat is open. If information, you have questions, we will definitely open it at the very end for any questions you might have. So feel free to put them in the chat or jot them down and ask them at the end. We will take as much time as needed to get your questions answered. Our arrival this year, this nice map, it might be small on your screen. It was shared on Dojo and on our newsletter and via email. But our arrival and dismissal, even though our school time moved up 5 minutes, families, you will not feel that in our arrival and dismissal. So arrival, our doors still open at 8:45 for breakfast. So our arrival time is 8:45 to 9:10. I want to name on the front end that preschool will not start until next Monday. Again, next Monday. And these procedures are really K-6. So just know that preschool will meet. If you have a preschooler, they are meeting with you individually in the next couple days. So you should be hearing from them soon to set up one-on-one meetings, and they will go over all the preschool procedures. So I just wanted to name that on the front end. That is preschool gen ed and also our preschool with disabilities classrooms. So both of those classrooms. So you'll see the green line, just like last year, is our car riders. That is where anyone without a preschooler will pull. Our preschool families, you will still have that special entrance. And really that the rationale with that is that preschool parents are required to come in and sign their child in. So we want to allow that kind of loop for parents that'll have to get out of their vehicles. And that'll allow the car line to still flow. Students will enter through the cafeteria doors just like last year. They can enter anywhere between 8:45 and 9:15. So we will close the doors at 9:15 and have them go to the front office. If you notice the pink line, that will be where our buses pull through that other entrance. So if you are driving to drop off your children or family members, make sure you head through the Woodford. You'll know you're in the right entrance because it has the sign in front of it. It's at the very front of our building. Students will be considered tardy at 9:20. So we want to give that buffer time for students to get to their class, to make sure they get breakfast, etc. Students, we of course welcome all kids to eat breakfast in our facilities. But of course, we know some families, they eat breakfast at home. You can, as always, drop them off whether or not they have breakfast or not in the morning at 8:45. We will, the one slight change, we're going to do our morning announcements live. So similar to this, we will have morning announcements from 9:10 to 9:20. So we do definitely want all students in our morning announcements. It's a good culture builder. We'll do some shout outs, announcements. If it's a special day like the 100th day of school, or we're celebrating Autism Awareness Month or Black History Month, all of those will incorporate into our morning announcements. We'll do those similar to this model. Staff will queue on a Google Meet, and our students will watch the morning announcements from their classrooms. So last year we did it from the gym, and teachers weren't included in that or other staff members. So we are going to make it a morning announcement link. Most of our students will participate in morning announcements. Our preschoolers might listen at a different time of the day, depending when their breakfast is, but we will be recording those sessions just like we're recording this, so that students can receive that information. I know our autism department is committed to showing those announcements as well and tailoring it to make sure their students have it in a way that's digestible for them. Any student, oh, I love the emojis. Thank you, families. Those I didn't get to teach virtually, but I was like in meetings, I do the same thing. So I'm like, I need to share some love to the presenters. Any medical needs that your children or families that you might know have, we will be sending, as always, the packets that go home. Our office staff, Miss Page and Miss Kiner, and the office staff are phenomenal. They have designed our packet to really be Woodford specific. So you will get the medical authorization form that always goes home. I know it's quite lengthy to fill out, but please, please fill that out. That also allows, if your child might need to take Advil or Tylenol or something that like that, that allows our nurse or anyone that is licensed to give out medication. We are then able to provide that with your permission. You can also notate on there that you would like to be called first, but if we don't have that signature, we actually are not allowed to provide that. So just make sure you get those forms in when you receive your back to school paperwork. If you have any shot records or allergies, make sure that those are updated with our office. It's always better at the beginning of the year, just send a copy with the back to school paperwork just to be on the safe side and make sure our school nurse has that as well. On that note as well, I've spoken to a lot of families about some chronic medical conditions. And I want to just say that if you don't know this, we offer in Cincinnati Public Schools what's called a 504 plan. It is very similar to an individual education plan or an IEP for students with disabilities. It is not that, but it is designed for students that might have medical needs that need accommodations. So it follows a shorter process where the team meets, including the family, to develop some accommodations that would support that child's learning. That can include anything from breaks for students that might have ADHD. That might include something like written notes. Any of those things can be accommodated. All we need is we need those medical records printed out, and that then can cue that process. So if that is something you desire for your child, or you know families that have that same question, just let them know that that does exist in our district. And it's called a 504 plan. Sometimes we confuse it with an IEP. Our academics, we have such a rich academic curriculum at Woodford. I'm sure if you're a returning family, you know this. We offer all the same subject courses that all Cincinnati public schools offer. We have a lovely camp department. And this was a new term for me because I was used to AMP. I was like, what is camp? So camp stands for computer, technology, art, music, and physical education. So our students K to 6 will be able to participate in those offerings. We also have a social emotional learning program in alignment with our district and our social worker. We have a full-time social worker. She is returning, Miss Barnett or Miss Dion. You all probably know her well. She is very beloved within our school community. And then we are so excited to have fully staffed a band and orchestra for our 5th and 6th graders. So they will get to select, yes, they will get to select. And that is not to exclude our younger learners. We will have other opportunities for them to engage in that. This is going to be like an official band and orchestra for Woodford. So our students will be able to select in and opt into those programs and those grade levels. We don't have the capacity to offer it at every grade level, but there will be opportunities for younger grade levels to engage. Today, we actually had our professional learning off-site at the Kennedy Heights Art Center. They are very committed and excited to continue the work of having culture and arts alive in the building. And I'm sure you all know our art teacher who keeps our building looking nice and beautiful. our staff made a new mural that will hang this year to really represent our work moving forward. This is just a quick highlight of some of our extracurricular activities. I know our younger primary families are looking at this list like, where are the offerings for the younger kids? There will definitely be offerings for our primary students. The district made a commitment to increase elementary sports, which is excellent. As a former basketball coach, I love it. And so we are so excited to partner with the district and offer these teams. Love to start a brain bowl. That is actually a thing in our district now. So these are all the options that exist. If you know of anyone interested in coaching, there is a stipend involved, a very small stipend, but a stipend involved for our coaching positions and our after school curricular activities. So please reach out if you would be interested in hosting or becoming a coach. We can make sure that we let you know that information. We do have some coaches lined up, but there are some sports that we and activities that we aim to get at Woodford, but we don't quite yet have coaches secured yet. We do have our fall sports ready to go with soccer and football. This is more of our after school activity offerings. We have Amani before and after care. If you need the connection, yes. And that is huge for the before care. That is excellent. Miss Baker, I saw your hand, so I do want to stop and honor your question if you want to take yourself off mute.
Yes, thank you. My son is in the autism unit, and I am really interested in the before care
Yes.
program. I've been calling Imani, but no one has reached back to me.
Okay.
Is there any way you could drop some information in a chat after the call?
Absolutely. What I'm actually going to do, if it's okay, Miss Baker,
Oh,
can you, Miss Foles, can you drop my email and my phone number? And Miss Baker, if you could just call, text, or email me, I'll talk to you about that because I also want to make sure that we include the autism. Is your child in our autism unit?
yes, he's been
Okay.
going there since preschool. He's in Miss Lee's game classroom.
Okay. Oh,
Yes,
is he older? Fifth,
he
sixth grade?
he's a third grader.
Okay, okay, awesome. So we'll connect Miss Baker and we'll make sure that we also ensure that he has his accommodations. And so our students with disabilities, I'm sure you know this, they need access to the same level of aftercare and before care. So we want to make sure that if you desire to have him in that program, we make sure he also has the support that he needs within his IEP. Yes, thank you. Yes, Miss Baker. Yes. So I'll connect with you and we'll make sure we loop in. I'm sure Miss Lee Skang, if you communicated with her, she probably emailed me and it is sitting in my inbox. So thank you for asking that. I will make sure families that we share out the number. There is a number that you can call. I don't have it on the tip of my fingers, but I will get you all the number that you can call if you would desire to be in Amani aftercare or before care. There are other options available in our community as well. We do have daycare vans that come to the school. I will make sure that all of that information gets out to you all so that if you need that, you can absolutely, and just let us know if you need support in that area. Miss Barnett, our social worker, is on it and she will definitely support you all in that. Also, we have, again, our connection with KHAC is Kennedy Heights Art Center. They do a lot of partnering with us on after school programming at their site. They also have a jazz band. So if your student is interested in jazz, we can definitely get you connected. They will be at our open house. We delayed our open house until the end of August, on August 31st, to just let us get in. I'm a new principal, so they designed the open house to be later on purpose, and it is going to be a carnival. There's a lot of fun things that will be at that event. So it'll be our first kickoff to family engagement. So our resource coordinator, Miss Ashley, is working very hard on that. And Kennedy Heights Art Center will have a representative there. And then also our Girl Scouts, of course, our chess club. And Adopt a Class. Adopt a Class has made an ambitious goal with us that they will adopt every single one of our K-6 classrooms. They cannot adopt preschool. That is just something they just cannot do within their programming. So just know that is coming eventually. What Adopt a Class is just companies around the area. They sponsor a classroom and they'll come in, do activities with the kids. If it's a financial bank, they'll maybe do some financial literacy stuff. And then there's always a field trip at the end of the year to their business, which is kind of a cool experience. And I know our staff love free field trips, which are always fun. We also will have Men of More and Girls to Women again. Lunch and recess this year, same as last year. Our students will have a 30-minute lunch. Our homeroom teacher, your homeroom teacher can share the time of day that lunch is at. There will be a 20-minute recess, and that time has been scheduled by the teachers. Our K1 teachers advocated for 2 15-minute recesses because we know that our younger learners need a little bit more time to get out their wiggles. I want to name that this recess time is just free play. Our teachers do a great job of giving brain breaks. We are getting an outdoor learning space. That is hot off the press. One of our former teachers wrote a grant, and we will be getting eventually, I'm not sure when the ground is going to be broken, but out front in our building will be a nice outdoor learning space that staff can come and take all their students and they can do learning activities outside. So know that recess time is just unstructured play. There will be lots of time, especially for our younger students, and our older kids need wiggle breaks too. So those will be built into their schedule. Special occasions and celebrations, we invite all of our families. I know you all love to bring the cupcakes. I know you all love to bring the cookies. I might ask you for one if you bring them. But know that is always allowed at Woodford. All that we need is that they're store bought, and that's a state and local board policy that we just have to follow, and that's not new. So just make sure those are store purchased items, and make sure that we're also being aware of food allergies. So avoid the peanuts, avoid those types of candy if you bring candy. Our dismissal is going to look like a lot of the same. So the only difference is last year we dismissed a little early, and we really needed to move back the dismissal time to save our instructional minutes, because we know that the longer our students are in the building with their teachers in the classroom, the more they're learning. So we moved our dismissal back to 3:45, and that was why. We actually had our second and third grader teachers, we moved their specials times back. So those grade levels will just be picked up from specials, and then they'll go right to dismissal. There was this interesting 15-minute kind of window where the teachers, it's just not enough time to do anything meaningful in that time. And so that's why we moved it back to 3:45. We do ask families that any changes to dismissal, you notify the office or the teacher by 3 p.m. And that is to truly avoid any issues, especially with transportation. We get rosters, and so we will put our students on buses unless we hear. So if you know already that your kid is getting routed for a bus and you don't want them to take the bus at all, let our office team know so that we can make sure we get you taken off the roster and your child is not put on the bus. So that's really the change. That's really the most important change, is that bus transportation. Early dismissal, we ask that you come at 3:30. By 3:30, I am going to ask the office team to cut off early dismissal at 3:30. And the why behind that is that if we do it too long to 3:45, we're going to back up the car line. And I know you all desire to be at pick up out. So we want that to be a quick process for you all. I know we can do it. We're a smaller building. I've been at a building with 725 students. Now, of course, all 725 weren't there at once, but we were in and out sometimes in 20 minutes. So we can get in and out quickly with the design in our building. We do ask that you stay in your vehicles. I think that will make that a lot easier. And again, that's for our K to 6 car riders. Dismissal will be just like arrival, in which you will follow the green arrows if you're dismissing. Now, if you look up at the top where it says 3:40 to 4, the reason I wanted publicly to say it starts at 3:45 is because our teachers are going to start moving in the building at 3:40. So just don't expect students to come out until 3:45. Now, of course, with anything, the first couple of days, give us a little grace as we, manage a new leader. We just manage, systems at the start of the year. And I know, but we desire to really get our arrival and dismissal very efficient because we know how we start and end the day can definitely impact what happens during the day. This hopefully is exciting. Hopefully. We will not, last year they decided that there would not be a uniform policy. Now, all that means is that uniforms are not required. Students are more than happy to wear uniforms. Quite frankly, there's actually a board policy in which school uniforms are paused because of COVID. So we definitely will get your feedback this year. This policy is very open-ended for a reason. My previous school saw the transition from uniforms to not, and we quite frankly assumed that parents wanted them. But actually for some folks, they have to buy multiple outfits. So if you already purchased uniforms, students are happy to wear them. These are just a kind of do's and don'ts. This is going to be in our student handbook that will also go home in your welcome packet with all your paperwork. This also is posted on our website, on our Facebook, and was sent out in Class Dojo as well as a digital copy. So really pretty basic information. One thing I do want to note, because these have become popular, the shoes with the wheels do become a little bit of an issue, and it's just a safety thing. So I didn't know those had become popular, quite honestly. But if they have them, as long as they don't use the wheelies, it's not a big deal. But again, it's just for safety. We want to make sure that our students are safe in the hallways. I do know that Crocs are fine. I guess this is a new term for me. You can put it in sport mode where you can put the strap on the back. This is new. Crocs that I were used to didn't have the strap. So Crocs are fine. Our PE, physical education teacher, is fine with that. You all know how to dress your children. We just want them to be safe. So any questions about this particular? Because I know this is a new change for this year. And I know the chat is still open, but if anyone needed to take themselves off mute.
Hi, I am a grandparent of a first grader, and this is his first year.
Hello, Miss Mackey. Is it Miss Mackey?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Miss Mackey. Welcome.
Thank you. So I have a question in regards to the uniforms. What colors were they allowed to wear?
So they can wear whatever color they want now. So I want to name that. Our colors are blue and green. They can wear whatever color they want. And I say that also to say that last year I got feedback from some parents that we were saying 2 years ago, we were saying this color is the required color. And then they went to the uniform store and guess what color wasn't there?
That color.
Yes. So our school colors are blue and green, but like we will get some spirit wear going. Our colors are blue and green, white, whatever color you Miss Mackey want your first grader to wear.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for asking that question. That was a great question. And thank you for coming to this.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions about dress code? I don't even want to call it a uniform because it's not a uniform policy.
Are Crocs allowed?
Yes. Yep. Crocs are allowed. Our physical education, we know the kids like to wear them. We know it. Just make sure that they do have the strap so that, again, if you know your child, you know them better than us. If they're going to be on the playground tripping in their Crocs, maybe gym shoes would be better. So again, as you all make the best decision for your family. But yes, Crocs are perfectly fine because we just ask, the only thing that's on here, it says shoes closed-toed for gym and recess. We did get approval from our physical education teacher for the Crocs in sports mode with the strap. So, and I know kids like to put the little jewels and the little things in them. So some of them wear socks, or there's so many interesting Crocs nowadays, and they're quite comfortable. Thank you, Ms. Foles, for that question.
Ms.
Okay,
Dunn, did I answer your question about the celebration?
Yeah, I worked at an elementary school in CPS for a long time, and our principal only let celebrations happen during lunch. So I was just trying to make sure that they just schedule it with the teacher.
Yeah, just schedule with the teacher because quite frankly, if I'm the first lunch, I don't want you to bring my class cupcakes. I would rather have my cupcake celebration at the end of the day, not to sugar them up and send them home. But yeah, just schedule with the teacher, and I'm sure they would be flexible and again work with you. So that's not. Now, Miss Dunn, if we get openings, I'll make sure I let you know if you want to come back.
I don't know.
I know. So technology, if the same information as last year, but our students in K and 1 are assigned iPads, and our 2nd through 6th graders are assigned laptops. Our students will go over, actually with Ms. Foles, our technology teacher, the acceptable use policy, and she showed me her work. She does a phenomenal job of educating students on technology usage, social media, all of those things, because that is a part of our work too, is educating students to be citizens as well. And so she does a great job of that and going through that policy. Students will sign it as a part of their tech class. So just know that's coming. We also, for our rising 2nd graders, we have a scheduled day in which they'll have their iPads and they'll be traded out for their laptops. And it is like the most exciting day I've ever been a part of. They're just thrilled to get their little laptops. So know that that date is already scheduled and that will be occurring. Students are welcome to keep their devices at school if that is something that you all as families would think would be beneficial. Just connect with the teacher and let them know your preference on that. Students are allowed to take their devices home, and I know Miss Foltz is about to jump in and I want her to. Students are allowed to take their devices home, but I've had families request that I keep them in my office for whatever the reason. And so we can work out those situations as best as we can. Ms. Foltz, I wanted to make sure I gave you the mic.
Yeah, so in our school, because we are a small school, we try to give the teachers the benefit of like deciding what do they think is best, because that also entails if they take it home, then it's responsible to take home every day, to be charged fully, to make sure it's in their backpack, to go back to the class and be ready because they have to do the curriculum on the computers. So some teachers might ask that they keep them in the school. And then like if they have homework or if there's something that need be, then they can send them home to have them at home. So just be aware that the teachers might ask you to be kept there just so that they have them every day, charged, ready to go. And then you don't have to worry about it either.
And something really exciting that I found out, families, is we are getting charging stations for our school, which will be awesome. So our students will be able to charge their devices. And know too that, because I'm so grateful for all of you that filled out that survey. It's been so interesting being able to read your feedback. Not everything will be on the computer. There is still a lot of engagement. There is still group work. there is still small group time. There is still read alouds. All of that rich stuff that we know is good for students is still happening. We just, quite frankly, live in that digital world where everything is online now. But we know that some students do need hard copies, and teachers know that. And so they definitely provide that accommodation for any student that needs it. Also on technology, and Ms. Full is going to be so happy I mentioned this, our district has what's called a gaggle alert. And what that is if students are off-site or on-site and there's something that is inappropriate or alarming in the Google chat or websites or anything, I actually get an email directly, like it says urgent on the email. And so there are ways in which they can have certain words. And so make sure you educate your students on that. That when they put what they put in that Google chat, Miss Dauner and a lot of other folks can actually read it. And what's nice about that, though, is there's also a side to that of we've been able to, quite frankly, meet with students that are having some mental health needs that might share and disclose something that then they need support on. Those are also the benefits of that alert as well, is we can know how to support students. Also, our computers are all and iPads are all hooked up with an internal tracking device. That, however, only works across state lines. So I know one common concern from everyone in the community is if devices are stolen, just know that the district is willing to work with us on those cases and families not being charged. And what's nice is if they're across state lines, we are able to track those. Our cell phones policy. So this is just really looking at technology is such a great thing for our students, but how can we teach them and model for them how we use technology, and in this case, cell phones, in a way that doesn't distract us. There might be staff members that utilize cell phones as a part of their instructional routines. Great. All we are not asking families to not send your kids with cell phones. And I'll offer a perspective up of why I'm really passionate about that. But cell phones are to be stored and shut off or silenced during instructional hours so our students can just be focused. And for some families, I know that that's like, but if it's an emergency, I need to get a hold of my student. If that happens, just call our office and state that it is an emergency, that you have had something go on in your family. You need to come pick up your kid right away. Whatever it is, we are more than happy, because I don't want that to be a stressor for families, that you really need to get a hold of something happened in your family and you need to get a hold of your student. The reason I am very, very passionate about that, yes, the office does a great job delivering messages. Thank you. The reason I'm very strong on this stance around not requiring or having cell phones be taken from students is we live in a world in which just the reality is what it is. And so I don't know if you are aware, but unfortunately, the school shooting that occurred in St. Louis Public Schools, I think it was last year, the year before, I had former students that had siblings in that school. And his younger sibling, the older sibling, he's in his 20s. The child, who's now in high school, did not take his phone to school out of fear that he would get in trouble. And so during that event, right, it was a very traumatic event. The family was not able to reach the child because he did not have a cell phone. And so in the times that we're in, I think it is very important for students that in those scenarios, not that we're planning that, but we need to plan for that just in case, that perspective and hearing from the family. And, he was calling me like, I don't know what's going on. And I was trying to comfort him from Cincinnati. That really just changed the game for me on why policies that require students to turn in cell phones or like that can actually be a little problematic in those situations. And so, just have them stored and off. Teachers, I'm sure, would be willing to hang on to them in their classrooms if a student, a sixth grader, that would be tempting for them. So just know that that's an option, and we won't school-wide have something where kids need to turn in their phones. Safety drills. I just want to also make you aware of these levels as we do some of our safety drills for our students. So at all district-wide, they're implementing these kind of levels. And so the why behind this is so our staff is prepared on how to respond at various levels. So a level 1, whatever something might be happening, wherever it is, typically the school resource officer will call me and say, we need to go on a level 1 lockdown. It might be something very minor, that whatever the rationale is. And so what a level 1 means is just we are normal operations in the building. We just don't exit the building. So students won't have recess per se in that setting, but we will not practice level 1 drills. But if we ever need to go on one when it's near dismissal, we will send out an urgent robocall message to let you know that dismissal, that's only happened one time to me ever, but typically it happens not often. So just know a level 1 is very minor. Students keep learning. We just announced to teachers, and the students will learn this as well, so they know. Level 2 is, for whatever reason, we need to stay out of the hallways. This could be simply that one of our students or staff or someone in our community is having a medical emergency, and we need medical professionals to be able to get in the hallways, get out quickly. We might do a level 2 lockdown. So level 2 is just all of our teachers instruction continues. We just can't be in the hallways. So that's what a level 2 means. And a level 3 is something that no school desires to be in, but we must practice, is when we secure in place with no movement in the classroom. And so our teachers are prepped and ready with what's called ALICE. And that's a very specific training protocol that we're trained in the event that we do need to go on a level 3 lockdown. We will practice level 3 lockdowns. Students will be made aware of those dates because we do know that sometimes those can be triggering for some of our students. And so they will be known ahead of time, and we will make sure that that communication is delivered to you all as well in the event that families you would like to know. I also will say that anytime we go on a level 3, level 2, or level 1 lockdown that is not a practice drill, we will send out communication. So communication will go out, and we will specifically say, we might not be able to give a lot of details, but we will say specifically which level we went on if it is not a planned drill. So just know that. We also at Woodford, and this probably looks familiar, we did update the signage to include our students that are in our deaf and hard of hearing program with some of the sign language added. So we have what's called at every school positive behavior interventions and supports. And all that just means is how are we teaching and recognizing students that are meeting our expectations? And so our students can collect class dojo points and roar bucks. I plan to have a little wallet somewhere so I can start handing out bucks the first day for me. So those can be redeemed on our Roar store. And there's a lot of really fun items. I know the students are, I talked to a couple students over the summer, and I was like, what do you want me to not? Like, what is something you love? The Roar store. Please don't take that away, Miss Dauner. Please don't take our Roar store. So they really love it. And it's just an opportunity for them to spend those points. There is negative and positive points. Students reset to 0 on Mondays because we know everyone needs a fresh week. So just know teachers might develop individual classroom incentives as well, derived from these points as well. Our bullying policy is aligned to the districts. And so I invite all of you on the phone to please help me spread the word that there is a bully button on the district website. It's red with the arrow pointing to it. If you community members, students want to anonymously or non-anonymously report something that they are alleging to be bullying, those reports go directly to myself and Meg Burrows, who runs our district bullying prevention office. That and if you come and speak to me, I will of course meet with any parent, but we will probably fill out the form together. And the why behind that is because if we find a behavior to be mean or rude and not quite meet the district, not district, because it's OVAIS trained, actually, definition of bullying, we want to monitor those, because if we're seeing a pattern, then we need to start having different conversations with our students. So the 4 criteria that we follow, and again, this is a part of the OVAIS, it's a common bullying prevention program, is the behavior is repetitive, meaning it happens a lot. It causes physical or mental harm. So sometimes students will be joking with one another, and we might perceive it or not perceive it as bullying behavior. And then we just talk to the students. And so that's key, is talking to our students. It involves a power imbalance. So that just means that mean and rude behavior will not be tolerated, and we'll have those conversations with students. But sometimes it needs to involve, not sometimes, it needs to involve a power imbalance where to truly be considered bullying behavior. But we will address mean and rude behavior as well. And then purposefully. So sometimes our students might ask questions, be curious, make statements that they don't know hurt someone's feelings. And so that's the way in which we join those students together in a circle, and we have those conversations so that students can feel empowered to tell their peers or their adults, what adults in the building, what is causing them harm. And so that person then has that feedback to respond to it. Questions on this? Because I know this is definitely something that a couple people put in the family survey as something they wanted addressed. And the chat is open as well if you'd like to put anything in the chat. And we are almost finished, families, I promise. These are just some of our community partners that we have just the honor of working with. Best Point is returning as our mental health partner. We have a full-time therapist. She will be new joining us. We have the day treatment offering at Woodford. So if students might need some support with social emotional learning or regulation skills, they can actually do a program on site, on our campus, and not go to half-day programming outside of campus. That is still an offering, though, with Best Points as well. So we're just excited to have that on site as well. We partner with all of these organizations regularly. Kennedy Heights Art Center, again, being our real driver in our main partner in terms of community-facing activities beyond the classrooms, is our resource coordination partner. And so we are so grateful for them and all that they do for us, including hire our resource coordinator. Our resource coordinator's role, and if you haven't met Miss Ashley, you will meet her at the back to school bash, that she is so excited, and it will be a great time. She just aids families in connecting families with resources. She can schedule school tours if you would like to tour the building. All of those things are available. And our website also is updated, is up to date. So all this information can also, including how to schedule a school tour, can be found on our school website. Speaking of family engagement, we know family engagement looks different for every single family. Some families can't volunteer during the day. We welcome any and all level of engagement that you can provide. Our superintendent, I'm sure you've heard this, has an initiative. We have an initiative about being present. And she said this morning, which really resonated with me, and I know the staff, being present for families will look different, because families all have whatever is going on. You all might be working, whatever the hours you're working. Some people can volunteer and come in the day. Some people can only do after school. And so that looks different for every family. If you desire to be a volunteer, I will make sure that we get this out in our next weekly newsletter. There's just a process to go through to get yourself a badge, a Cincinnati Public Volunteer badge. you all would get the yellow, I think it's yellow or green, and it says volunteer. That badge is required to go on field trips if you would like to ride our buses. So if you are a parent that likes to go on field trips, if you are an adult that loves to go on field trips, just make sure you get that badge if you desire to ride on our busing and on our transportation. All of these links and the steps will be again included in our next family newsletter. With class visits, visiting the classroom, volunteering in the classroom. If it's not a regular thing and you just desire to pop in, just make sure you communicate with the teacher and schedule that day and time or day time frame, and we'll just get you a badge from the office, the visitor's badge. Just make sure you do bring that license or another form of identification. There's a scan system that you'll go through. These are just important numbers if you want to take a quick photo of this slide. This will be sent out though, this whole slide deck and this whole presentation will be shared again. So this has all of the information. There was a question in the chat I did want to name. Our open house for meeting teachers is 6 to 7, but we are planning the community facing event starting at 4:30. So we have sent out that the start time is 4:30 because that's our community time in the beginning. We didn't want to add on. We wanted to just combine. So we'll have a community festival portion, and then teachers will be available from 6 to 7. Some teachers, who knows, quite honestly, they'll probably show up at 4:30 too, some of them. I'm going to pause a second just in case anyone wants to take down these numbers or snap a quick picture. Okay, this is the last slide, and then I will open for questions. There have been a lot of families that have stopped in and asked, how can we help? How can we help? So I want to manage needs. Of course, we have our school supplies list. There's a link to the Be Present initiative. We would love for all of our Woodford families to sign. And so we represent Woodford well. And we have all of you. It's just a pledge almost of just being present and whatever it looks like for you. You can actually click whether or not you're interested in volunteering, and they'll send you information on how to get all of your badges and stuff like that. The other thing, quite honestly, I came to Woodford and I heard that the teachers are spending their own money on these items in the Roar store. And I was like, oh my goodness, we can't. Y'all, we can't do this. So we are planning to spend a lot of our, not a lot, but budget for the Roar store. We are not, with federal or state funding, allowed to purchase chips. And we know kids love chips. They love to buy chips. They do. They love all the chips, all of them. So if you are able and willing, we would accept any donations of chips. If you are a Costco shopper like me, Walmart, wherever, Kroger, if the next time you're shopping, you could just pick up one of those chips. We'll be collecting donations all year from families because, again, we know our students want those items, and I want to balance teachers spending a lot of their own money. So that is one ask in this moment. If you are asking, what can you do for Woodford? We definitely know that we desire to have like a chip stash for our Roar store. And that is the end of our session. So I do want to open it up for any questions, any questions or comments, anything at all. Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you for all of the information and all of your efforts to try to get to know us coming in as a fresh new principal to CPS. I'm excited. It feels like that you have a lot. There's a lot of things that we agree on in education, and I appreciate it greatly. I am going to send an email because there is a situation I'd love to talk to you about just offline.
Yes.
But again, just thank you for all of the work and all of the effort, because I know your start date was July 1. And so you've done some amazing things since you started, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. It technically was August 1, but I keep telling people my start date was board approval in June.
There you
So
go.
that's when the work. Now, I will say thank you, Ms. Dunn, for saying that. I also, when you email me, I have a link at the bottom of my email signature. And I'll start making sure that's in the weekly email, that if you ever want to, you are welcome at any time. But I definitely desire to be in classrooms and make sure that your students are getting the education they deserve, and to highlight the great things happening at Woodford, to shout teachers out, to post things on social media with your permission, so you all keep up to date on what is happening. Like that cool, if you haven't seen it, the preschool tree that we are going to have in our preschool deaf and hard of hearing room is just so fabulous. And so that link, Miss Dunn and everyone else, actually goes directly to my calendar, where you can actually book me, so to speak. If I'm like booked out, just email me and we'll find a time. I obviously work after 4, so just let me know, and we can definitely make that happen. Also, be on the lookout. I definitely desire to. I led staff through a listening session, and I've spoken to a couple families, but I do want to have a family session where I get family based feedback on these 4 questions that I have been asking community members, staff, Kennedy Heights Community Council. So just be on the lookout. I didn't want to bug y'all in the summer, and I was really trying to get in. I was trying to kind of layer it with staff, and then I was like, they're on their summer break. When we get into back to school, I'll schedule those. So be on the lookout for those. They'll just be open town halls where, quite frankly, I'll just be sitting and taking notes and just asking these 4 major questions. Any other questions for me or for the school, or Ms. Foltz is still on the line? Thank you, Ms. Baker, for being out here representing Woodford and sharing our good stuff happening.
I would like to just know what time is the back to school bash on the 31st?
Absolutely. It is 4:30 is the community facing event. So we're going to have a festival. It is going to be carnival theme. I don't want to disclose all the details because we're still booking stuff right now. But 4:30 is the start time. And then 6 is when the teachers will be available.
Okay, thank you.
And there'll be community partners. We'll have giveaways. It will not be like the Washington Park thing. So if you went to the District Washington Park event, it might not be that big, but it will be a great celebration, and we can just celebrate right before Labor Day, our first month of school together. Okay, I'm going to stop recording just in case, families, you have questions that you would not like to be recorded and posted.